a batting paradise in Manchester for the fourth test. If I'm captain of that Indian team, or if I'm batting out there at the time, I'm probably doing the same. Probably saying, no, the two guys deserve 100. So I don't see anything wrong with it. Jofra Archer, since he's come back into this test team, he's been phenomenal. Another 3 wickets in the first innings, but it's not just the wickets, it's how he bowls, it's what he offers his team, it's that extra pace, it's that extra aggression. I think for England to compete or have the chance to beat Australia in the summer, they need Jofra Archer fit. I think the other one who's not fit at the moment is Mark Wood. I think if they can bring those two to Australia with the other fast bowlers they have, then I think they've got a very strong squad to go hard against the Aussies. Hello guys, welcome back to Beyond 23 for the debrief for the fourth test match between England and India. Where do I start? A batting paradise in Manchester for the fourth test. I guess we've probably seen batting conditions as good in this series in the UK as I've seen for a long time, to be honest. There's been a little bit of movement in every test match with the brand new ball. I'd say, generally in England conditions, the Duke ball, sometimes you don't see as much movement when that ball's brand new, and then sort of 10 overs in, then you can see a bit of swing when that lacquer's gone off the ball, certainly off one side, and you see swing throughout probably 40 overs, but hasn't been the case. I think the best time to bowl has been that brand new ball, and the hardest time, I guess, from a batting perspective, has certainly been the top order. The two openers have had, a job to do in regards to that specialist opening the batting role. And I think this test in Manchester was pretty similar. Apart from, the first few overs, I think batting conditions were fantastic. India got a little bit of spin out of the conditions when they bowled. Didn't see as much reverse swing. I was surprised. A lot of the time in Manchester as well, when the wicket is flat and dry like we saw, you get a lot of reverse swing, but we didn't see much of that either. So well done to the batting units. Tough job for the bowlers. And I think, there's a few talking points about this test match. The main one is definitely when Ben Stokes said, he couldn't win the game and said, let's call it and let's agree to a draw, and wanted to shake hands with India. The two Indian batters, Jadeja particularly being the experienced batter out there, said, no, we're not ready to call it a game yet. Where, two batters had the opportunity to make test hundreds. They did all the hard work, to be honest. I think India's batting in the second innings was fantastic. They deserve a lot of credit for that. Now, I know they didn't win the test match, but they saved that game definitely by the way they played. So I don't think there's anything wrong with what the Indians did. I think they made the right decision. I think they, both batters were 80 odd at the time. They did all the hard work to survive and not get out. I think if I'm captain of that Indian team, or if I'm batting out there at the time, I'm probably doing the same. Probably saying, no, the two guys deserve 100. So I don't see anything wrong with it. I can understand England's frustration. They don't want to, the test match was done. They agreed to that. They're only going to bowl part-time bowlers, but still, that's up to them. They could have kept bowling their full strength attack if they wanted to, but Stokesy was right. He didn't want to bowl any more overs into his bowlers, considering there's a quick turnaround for the fifth test. So I think a lot of these sort of cases, more's made of it from perception from the outside, from the media, and England might have looked like they weren't happy that India wanted to keep batting. You heard a few things on the stump mic with players saying, you're going to make 100 against a test 100 against a part-time bowler, but whatever, that stuff happens. You see it a lot in Australia and Sheffield Shield cricket, to be honest, because 4-day games, there's a lot more draws in Shield cricket than, certainly in my career, than Test cricket. So, both teams decide the game's over, 15 overs remaining in the game after the tea break. Once the last hour starts, but then one team says, no, we've done all the hard work, we want to keep batting for someone to make 100, make a first class 100. So I wasn't surprised. It's not the first time I've seen it, and I don't think it's a big thing. I think the rivalry between these two teams has been there from the first ball of this series. Stuff like this adds to it, but it's been a competitive series, and this test was no different. We have a look through the test match. India obviously batting first, managing to make 3-5-8. Again, I thought England bowled pretty well, and the two standouts as they have been the entire series. Ben Stokes picks up his first fifer, I think in, did I see 7 or 8 years, first fifer he's got. He's been a great bowler for a long time, but he looks as fit and as healthy with the ball as I've seen. He's bowling at good pace, he's bowling longer spells now, so that tells me his body's back to where it needs to be, certainly in the lead up for coming to Australia, but they're going to have to keep managing him. He's so important to that team. And then Jofra Archer, since he's come back into this test team, he's been phenomenal. Another 3 wickets in the first innings, but it's not just the wickets, it's how he bowls, it's what he offers this team, it's that extra pace, it's that extra aggression. I think for England to compete or have the chance to beat Australia in the summer, they need Jofra Archer fit. I think the other one who's not fit at the moment is Mark Wood. I think if they can bring those two to Australia with the other fast bowlers they have, then I think they've got a very strong squad to go hard against the Aussies in Australian conditions where you need more speed through the air as you don't get as much movement off the pitch. So those two were the pick in the for England's first innings with the ball. Like I say, India did well, 3-5-8, and then England come and bat and make 6-6-9. Unbelievable. Again, their partnership at the top, I just mentioned, I think the ball probably has moved or been the hardest to bat against that new ball. Crawley and Duckett again get off to a good start. Both get great starts, an 80 and a 90. Ollie Pope more runs, and Joe Root, wow. His record is phenomenal. I still can't believe he hasn't made 100 in Australia. Goes past Ricky Ponting as the second highest run scorer now in Test cricket and sits only behind the great Sachin Tendulkar. Interesting conversation around, and I don't think it's one for now, it's probably for the end of Joe's career, but let's assume he does go past Sachin. Will he be given that same credit, or will he be respected the same as, Sachin Tendulkar, in my mind, is the best batsman I ever played with or against. He's, second to Sir Donald Bradman in my eyes. And I say that not only because of his record, and this is the thing that's going to be interesting when it comes to Joe Root. Joe has the potential now to have, to be the leading run scorer in Test cricket. So statistically, that will be there if he can surpass Sachin. The thing about Sachin to me was he didn't have a weakness. He didn't have a deficiency. Just every other batsman that I played against, there was certain areas you could look at, study, and if you had the bowlers to be able to execute, you could set a plan to those batters because everyone's got a weakness. But Sachin didn't have one technically. No matter where you bowled, he was very skilled. He had the technique to be able to combat short pitch bowling, fast bowling, spin bowling, attack the body, channel that ball outside off and try and get him to play away from his body. But he was so disciplined, he didn't have a technical flaw. Joe's a wonderful player, but I don't know if I can say that about Joe Root, that he hasn't got any technical flaws. But his record is unbelievable. So I think his last challenge really is to make 100 or hundreds in Australia. So that adds more fuel to the fire for the Aussies as well. They'll want to try and stop that. I remember, I think Sachin had, when he come to Australia to play his last series here, I think it was on 99 Test hundreds. And that was one of the things for us as a team. We wanted to stop Sachin making his 100th 100 in Australia. So I would imagine that'll give, like I say, the Aussies a bit more fuel to try their best to stop Joe Root making 100 in Australia. But I'd be very surprised if he ends his career without a Test 100 in Australia. He scored a lot of runs against every team. As I said, his record is phenomenal. And I still can't believe he hasn't made 100 yet. But 150, batted exceptionally well. He should be so proud of what he's achieved already, and he's nowhere near done. He's got a lot of runs left in him, in my opinion. It was great to see Ricky was there as well. I think he must have been commentating for Sky, but I thought that was extra special to have Ricky Ponting at the ground. after Joe Root surpassed him. I saw they, obviously went and saw him and congratulated him. So, yeah, big congratulations to Joe Root. And just another Test 100. Ben Stokes as well, fire with the ball, 140 with the bat. After going off, retired hurt, I think it was cramp. But yeah, there was a few nerves. There's no doubt about that. I think everyone was like, oh, hope it's not a calf or a hamstring. It's going to rule him out for a while. But he went back and batted, made 140. So England, brilliant, 6-6-9 in that first inning. Sets up the game really for them to win. Only one team can win from that situation. And then India come out and find a way. KL Rahul deserved 100. Got 90. But India 2 for none. Sai Sebastian and Jaswal both getting ducks. And then in walks the skipper again, who makes another 100. Shubman Gill. So much talk about him in the lead up to this series. Not only being that in that number 4 position after Virat Kohli, and how much pressure comes with that, but take over the captaincy, try and manage that as well as fight your way to cement your spot in the test team. He has done everything right. He's been brilliant with the bat, and I've said it before, that's the easiest way to earn respect. Score runs. You want to make sure you're scoring runs, doing your job as a batsman first, or a bowler if you're a bowling captain, and then captain the team. And he's handled the pressure and the expectation and the extra responsibility so well. So another 100 for him. Washington Sundar 100 and Jadeja. Well, I spoke again about the spin department for India, and I still, 4 tests are gone, I still think Kuldeep Yadav should have played in this series. I think for India to take 20 wickets, I think he could have been that X factor. Interesting to see what they do with the 5th test. Do they bring him in? But in regards to what India have done in picking Jadeja and Washington Sundar, for example, I think a big part of it is because of their batting, that extra string to their bow. Their batting has been exceptional. They bowled well as well together, to be honest. Washington last game was very good. Jadeja this game picking up wickets. So I can't fault their bowling. So their decisions are not wrong in regards to what spinners they go for. My personal pick was Kuldeep Yadav because I think he's an X-factor bowler out the back of the hand. I think he could have played, and if he's picked in the 5th test, could still play a big part in trying to help India take 20 wickets. And I think that's what they're probably going to look at for this 5th test. How can we win? They obviously need to win. What's our best 11 to win the game? And if that means you've got to make a sacrifice where you might risk losing, or it mightn't be a safety play, then I think they could have done that from test 1 in England, but they certainly have to do it now for this last test. But certainly can't knock Washington Sundar and Jadeja. They've been absolutely brilliant with both bat and ball. I think Jadeja got 4. And Sundar picked up another 2 as well with the ball, and then add those test 100s. Phenomenal. From England's perspective, they'll be looking at, 425 for 4. What do we need to do around selection, or was it the wicket, or was it, missed opportunities, or how we bowled to not be able to win that test match from there? I think that's probably something they certainly need to look at. The spin department for England is going to be the one concern. It has been for a while now, really since Graham Swan left or retired. A really good frontline spin bowler is probably what that attack's missing to look to take 20 wickets against opposition teams, particularly in conditions like England, Australia, South Africa. Subcontinent, I think you can get away with finger spinners and not big turners of the ball, or if you don't drift the ball away and don't get batters out in the air, you can get enough natural variation off the pitch. Even early on in a test match in the subcontinent, it spins. But I think when you go to places where it doesn't turn as much, you need a bit more. You need to be able to, like I say, get that ball to drift, do a batter in the air, get them out or have the opportunity to get them out before the actual ball pitches, and you work out how much turn or how much bounce. I think that's probably going to be an area they're going to be, the spotlight's going to be on them in Australia through the summer. The Aussies have had, after Warney, there was a big gap to find our next frontline spinner, and Nathan Lyons grabbed that with both hands, has been phenomenal. But Lino's learnt how to bowl in conditions like Australia where there's not as much spin. He's been able to use bounce. He can use over the wicket, round the wicket. He's still found ways to take wickets. And I think in Australia, you need a good spinner if you're going to win a series. So that'll be an interesting challenge to see which way they go, what their best options are. They could even hope for grass, like we've seen years gone by in Australia, and maybe go the extra fast bowler. Don't even pick a spinner. Just use Joe Root. But certainly in this test match, in the second innings, I think they missed a good frontline spinner. Liam Dawson bowled 47 overs. Didn't go for many runs, 2.2 and over, 0-2 and over. 95 runs, but didn't pick up a wicket. And that's my point, I think, with spin bowling. Maybe because of the short form cricket now, T20, where we care so much about runs, preventing runs, rather than looking to take wickets. And I think your spinner's job is no different to, Jofra Archer in this team. They want him, they're happy for him to go for runs and take wickets with that new ball, bowl fast, and have that aggressive approach. I think spin bowling is no different. How I look at spin is exactly the same. They're an attacking weapon. They're wicket-taking options, and that's their job to take wickets. So that will probably be the only thing that they'll be looking at from that second innings. The other thing as well, quick turnaround for this fifth test match. What do they do with Jofra Archer? Can they afford to play him in this last test? Hasn't played test cricket for a long time. Has been brilliant in the series. Do they risk him in the last test? Also, Ben Stokes, how much does he bowl? He's bowled a lot in this series and been brilliant as well, but they've got to work out where's that balance. And I know it's hard in a test match to rest people or to hide. You can't at the highest level. And England will want to win, there's no doubt about it, but I think they've probably got to have a think about their selection and what their best 11 is. Not only to win this test match, but to keep in mind the injuries that Ben Stokes has had, and also Jofra Archer. From India's perspective, like I say, I don't know if they'll change too much, but I think they've got to work out how do we take 20 wickets. Yeah, you got to score enough runs, I get that, but is there the opportunity for Kuldeep Yadav to come into this last test match? Like I say, quick turnaround, they'll have to make quick decisions. But either way, I think it's been an unreal series. India deserve a lot of credit for the way they fought hard and avoided losing. I know I'm a big one for someone should win, someone should lose, but from India's perspective, they'll probably feel like this draw is closer to a win than a loss. So brilliant cricket. I think the whole series so far has been extraordinary, exactly what Test cricket needs, hard-fought games, both teams not willing to give up, fighting for every single run. The competitiveness been outstanding. I think both teams have handled it really well. I don't think there's been anything that's crossed the line. Yes, it also provides media attention and lots of things for us to talk about. Like I say, England not wanting the Indian batters to go on and make 100 and wanting them to shake hands and declare, I think it's fine. I think India had the opportunity to make that decision. They make it. Both batters deserved 100, and rightly so. England need to suck it up and get on with it. That's the way it goes. But I don't think England's crossed the line either. I thought they've been playing a good, tough, hard brand of cricket. They want to win. It's competitive on the field. And I hope the fifth test is exactly the same.